Section 68, Meaning of stated capital. 1. The stated capital of a company with shares consists of the sum of the following items. A. The total proceeds of every issue of shares for cash, including the amounts paid on calls made on shares issued with an unpaid liability, less deductions for transactions costs that are direct and incidental to share issue. B. The total value of the consideration, as stated in the agreement, received for every issue of shares otherwise than for cash, and C. The total amount which the company by special resolution resolves to transfer to stated capital from reserves, as defined in Section 70 including the credit balance on the share deals account referred to in Section 65. 2. Paragraph A or B of subsection 1 does not require the proceeds or value of the consideration received on the reissue of treasury shares to be added to stated capital. 3. For the purpose of subsection 2, when a company having treasury shares makes an issue of shares, the issue is, until the number of treasury shares of that class is exhausted, an issue of those treasury shares and not a first issue of further shares, unless the company otherwise determines. 4. The amount of the stated capital may be reduced to the extent and in the manner provided by Section 69 and in the buyout provisions in Sections 220 to 226. 5. Within 28 days after the raising of a stated capital, the company shall deliver to the registrar for registration particulars in the prescribed form showing the amount of money so raised and the total stated capital, distinguishing between the amounts attributable to each of the items specified in subsection 1. 6. Where the company defaults in delivering to the registrar the particulars required under subsection 5, the company and every officer of the company that is in default is liable to pay to the registrar an administrative penalty of 25 penalty units for each day during which the default continues. Section 69, Reduction of stated capital. 1. Despite subsection 4 of Section 61, the stated capital of a company shall be deemed to be reduced by the amount of money by which a redemption of redeemable preference shares is made out of the proceeds of a fresh issue of shares made for the purposes of the redemption not more than 12 months before the date of redemption. 2. An unlimited company may reduce its stated capital by ordinary resolution. 3. Subject to subsections 1 and 2, and to Section 66, a company may not reduce its stated capital except in accordance with Section 78 to 82. Section 70, Meaning of reserves. The reserves of a company with shares is the amount of money by which the assets of the company, other than unpaid calls and other sums of money payable in respect of the shares of the company and not including treasury shares, less the liabilities of the company, as shown in the accounts of the company prepared and audited in accordance with Sections 127 to 142, exceed the stated capital of the company. Section 71, Meaning of retained earnings. The retained earnings of a company with shares is the reserves, as defined in Section 70, less the amounts of money attributable to a. An unrealized appreciation in the value of an asset of the company, other than an appreciation in the value of an asset as would, under normal accounting principles, be credited to the income statement, unless the amount of the appreciation has been transferred to stated capital, and b. A balance standing to the credit of the share deals account immediately before the ascertainment of the retained earnings. Section 72, Legality of dividend payments. 1. Except in a winding up, a company shall not pay a dividend to the shareholders of the company or, except in accordance with Section 78 to 82 make a return or distribution of any of the assets of the company to the shareholders of the company unless the company has complied with the distribution test. 2. Where a payment, return or distribution is made in contravention of this section. A. Every director of the company who is in default is jointly and severally liable to restore to the company the total amount of money by which the payment, return or distribution contravenes this section, with interest on that amount at the yearly interest rate of the 91-day government treasury bill. B. Unless, within 12 months after the date of the payment, return or distribution, the total amount of money with interest on the payment, return or distribution is restored to the company by the directors in accordance with paragraph A of this subsection, every shareholder is liable to restore to the company the amount of money received by the shareholder in contravention of this section. And c. If the directors of the company make a restoration to the company in accordance with paragraph a of this subsection, they shall have a right to be indemnified by a shareholder who has received an amount of money knowing that it contravenes this section to the extent of the amount received by the shareholder with interest on that account at the yearly interest rate of the 91-day government treasury bill. 3. A shareholder, an officer or a creditor of the company or the registrar may apply to the court for an injunction restraining a company from paying a dividend or from making a return or distribution in contravention of this section or for an order for restoration in accordance with subsection 2. 4. An application by a shareholder or creditor shall be made in a representative capacity on behalf of the shareholder or the creditor and the other shareholders or creditors of the company, and section 205 shall apply. Skip sections 73 and 74. Section 75, Prohibition of payment of dividends by companies limited by guarantee. 1. A company limited by guarantee shall not at any time pay a dividend or make a distribution or return of the assets of the company to members of the company. 2. Where a payment, distribution or return is made in contravention of subsection 1, a member to whom it is made shall restore same to the company with interest at the yearly interest rate of the 91-day government treasury bill, and every officer of the company who is in default is liable to pay to the registrar an administrative penalty of 500 penalty units. Section 76, Declaration of dividends. 1. Subject to sections 72 and 75, and in the case of a private company, its registered constitution where applicable, a company may, by ordinary resolution, declare dividends in respect of a year or any other specified period, but a dividend shall not exceed the amount recommended by the directors. 2. In relation to public companies, subsection 1 shall be supplemented by section 321. 3. A dividend shall be paid within 60 days after the resolution of the shareholders confirming payments or after dividends have become payable. 4. Where a dividend is to be paid in accordance with subsection 3, the shareholders shall be notified of the amount of dividend recommended by directors for payment. 5. A registered constitution of a company may prescribe modes for the payment of dividend without reference to the resolution of the shareholders. Section 77, Capitalization issues and non-cash dividends. 1. When a company resolves to transfer a sum of money from reserves to stated capital pursuant to paragraph c of subsection 1 of section 68, the company, on the recommendation of the directors may, by the same or a subsequent special resolution, resolve that unissued shares in the company be issued and credited as fully paid to the members who would have been entitled to receive that sum of money had it been lawfully distributed by way of dividend and in the same proportion, so that the sum of money so transferred to stated capital shall be deemed to be paid, otherwise than in cash, on the shares. 2. An issue under subsection 1 shall be referred to as a capitalization issue. Skips the remaining subsections of section 77. Section 78, Resolutions requiring confirmation of court. 1. Subject to confirmation by the court, a company limited by shares may, by special resolution, a. Reduce the stated capital of the company in any way. B. Extinguish or reduce the unpaid liability on any of the shares of the company. C. Resolve to pay or return to the shareholders any of the assets of the company which are in excess of the requirements of the company, or D. Alter the constitution of the company by cancelling any of the shares of the company. Skips the remaining subsections under section 78.